Also, I think it's important as you're launching something new, it's another approach. It's not waiting till it's perfect and ready to start posting. Social media is free, right? Like it is a way to build authentic audience and make connection with your hopefully future customers at no risk to you.
Do you have a brilliant product idea but don't know where to start to get it made? Or are you looking to level up your product but afraid to take it overseas?
If so, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Erin, and we are
the Sourcing Gals,
your trusted guides to everything you need to know about sourcing, manufacturing, and scaling your product overseas. Whether you are just starting out or you've been making your own product for a while, we are here to help women source products overseas without the overwhelm.
In each episode, we'll share insider tips, actionable strategies, and inspiring stories to help you source more effectively, save time, and boost your profits.
Duh!
We know how hard it can be to juggle the ins and outs of product development, but don't worry, we've got your back.
So grab a cup of coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into how you can grow your business,
make more money,
and turn your products into profit. Welcome to the
Sourcing Gals. Now let's get started. High five.
Hi. Hello, welcome to the next episode of
The Sourcing Gals.
We are here today with a fun little twist on traditional sales that we hope you'll find insightful.
Yes, the conundrum of should you pre-sell or produce your first product? So really how to launch without burning up a ton of capital.
Yes, that's it. And I think that a lot of people who come from other industries into this one may not know that that's an option.
Yeah, correct. I remember one of the first products that we helped launch at a different company that I worked for before was a female founder who actually fully crowdfunded her first order. She knew her opening order was going to be sizable, and it was something that she couldn't necessarily or didn't want to afford on her own. However, before she crowdfunded, she had done her market testing.
Yes, that is important. We will get into that here.
Yes, so she understood that piece, but the actual financial investment that she made upfront, was through a crowdfunding campaign.
Yes. So there are a couple different ways to do this. And let's talk first about like why you would do that. And what, I guess, backing up even one more step is, what does this mean? And I'm sure you guys have seen them either on like Etsy or Amazon or Instagram, or I'm sure you've been hoodwinked actually by an Instagram brand who you bought something from, and then you realize they actually weren't making it until you bought it and you forgot about it. And then 16 weeks later, you got it in the mail and we're like, well, shoot, if I knew that was the case, I probably wouldn't have done it. So that's not the best way to go about it, but there are very transparent and smooth ways to go about making your product after you sell it to ensure that you're not burning up all your money on product.
Yeah. And I think what's great about the idea, for example, of crowdfunding is there are platforms, right? And these platforms are where people are actually going to find innovative product and are very understanding of the fact that they're going to pay in and it is going to be a set amount of time before they receive the actual product. So they're doing it in a transparent and open way. So you as a consumer know you're not being duped or gypped or finding something out after you've put that credit card down. But I do believe these platforms are changing the game for first-time entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the best places to get some of that initial funding when you have an idea that's very unique, that is going to take a lot of upfront funds to get sampled and made. But also it does come with the downside of if it doesn't pan out, you do owe those people their money back.
Correct. So it is, you want to be at a place where you know you have a viable product. And this is really about having the crowd, quote unquote, your network, fund
your first order.
Your first order.
Yes. Yeah. We don't want to be creating like a Ponzi scheme where you're taking people's money and then you don't even know if you can create what you've said. And then the money's gone. You want to be in a position before you do this where you have a product you know is going to be viable, like Jackie said. And then there are a couple other reasons and ways to do this aside from crowdfunding. So the industry I work in, which is mainly accessories and jewelry, there's a lot of print on demand product that your design, let's say you were an illustrator and you wanted to get your illustrations out on product. There are a lot of options for how to do that without pre-buying. And those are a lot of print on demand services out there. But in my industry in specific, we do work with a lot of factories who will make the product once it's ordered. This is very specific to jewelry. For example, if you're ordering a custom wedding ring, you're paying for it and then they make your wedding ring, right? So even in lower quality jewelry, that's starting to be kind of popular, where you'll pay for something and then it will be made. Now, that company will have already made a prototype. They will have already seen a PP. They will have already gotten all the kinks worked out. So they know it's just transactional. You place an order, the factory makes the order, it ships to you. If that time can be very tight, then obviously the customer's happier.
Yeah. So let's walk us through a product, for example, like you're explaining. Let's say I want to make a certain type of necklace.
Yeah.
And from my time to development, let's say I'm development ready, but I'm not sure how many to order.
Yep. So
where do I start?
A lot of factories do this. You do have to find a factory who's willing, but you would have your prototype made with the factory. You would get it in, you would approve it. You would photograph that sample. You would put that sample online and you'd take orders against it. And when you do that, you would need to be very clear. This is a made to order product. Or you can say, if you know from your factory, the factory says this takes us 5 days to make, you could just tell your customer, this is a 7-day lead time. You have some turnaround time, some buffer in there. But this is something that a lot of companies use when a product is a little bit risky. They're not sure if it's going to be well received by their customer base. So they'll make a handful, they'll put them up online, they'll get that feedback, and then they'll start making them to order. Then once sales ramp up, they will make them and keep inventory so they can keep a really tight turnaround.
So obviously this could work in some categories, but not many necessarily. So for those categories where something approach like this isn't feasible, we are also very big fans of small batch testing, basically.
Yes, that's really the 2.0 of this idea.
Yes. So that is finding the factory that's willing to let you start small. And you could even call it a test in your head. So when it comes to your pricing and your margin and your viability, I think it's important to know what are your margins at scale. And scale, I'm not saying you've made it into Target scale. I'm saying when you have a website online, you're really starting to put some pen to paper with a quantity that feels palatable to you. Okay, that's one set of your margin targets. But then the idea of, is the factory willing for a cost upcharge to make you 1/10 of that?
This is actually a question I answered via email from one of our clients yesterday. And she had asked if, when she's doing the small test run, if that is the margin that she should use to plan her business. And I was like, not really. The margin you should use to plan your business is that higher quantity that you think you're going to be at 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Let's call it. And then use that as your planning, your longevity business plan.
Yeah.
But for now, for this test, know that you're probably going to take a little bit of a margin hit, but you're going to be able to pivot out of an idea if it doesn't work.
Correct.
Much quicker and with less financial trouble than if you hadn't.
And let's talk about why it would cost more. I know we've had previous episodes about this that we've dove into, but when you think about a small, call it a pilot order, a test run, right? Whatever you want to call that initial launch of sorts, you have to think about the factory and their time to set up machinery, to get educated on your product, down to the raw materials, right? There might be a minimum that you have to hit, but a lot of times factories are willing to work around the minimum if you pay more, or even this might, for those that are, this might not be the most eco-friendly way to think about it, but if it's 1,000-yard minimum and you only need 500, they'll probably run 1,000. They will charge you twice as much for 500, and literally either throw away or hold that balance 500 yards, meters that you don't use. But so there are ways though, at the end of the day, to get a run that is half the quantity or a quarter or a tenth again of the quantity, but you're going to pay for it. But the learning, the understanding, the actually having a customer touch and feel and test your product is invaluable. And I'll say that for my own PJ business, before I even did a small production run, I was doing sampling. Like I was paying a lot for samples to be made, but they went out for free to my focus group ladies. So even before you're running into a small batch production run, maybe you're just paying extra to have your factory send you 10 samples, prototypes, as close as you can get. They're not going to be perfect, right? And I made the disclaimer, especially because I wasn't charging them for it. I was like, hey, these aren't perfect, but I want your feedback on XYZ. I made a whole survey for them. So before I even went into a small batch production run, I was literally asking my factory and paying an upcharge to have multiple samples sent to me and multiple sizes that I then sent out for free to people that were willing to test it.
So this also is very smart when it comes to the point where you're selling wholesale, because in a lot of cases, for most companies I've worked with, big companies, they're going to market, they're going to a trade show, they have a booth, they're showing their product, and that product is not in production yet.
Mm-hmm.
They have a good sample. And then once they get people to buy the product, let's say a boutique down the street comes through, they want to order 10 pieces, and then a larger store comes through, they want to order 100 pieces. You then go to your factory and you place that 150 piece order, and you know it's going to work out because you've seen a perfect sample, but you also have told those customers, hey, this is going to ship in September. So they know they're not getting it tomorrow.
Yep.
They're getting it in a couple months. And that's so common in the wholesale industry, to go to market with a really great prototype or a really great sample and to sell it, then place your PO to the factory.
100%. That's a great call. And again, I think that's for that distribution channel. It is a great approach.
And even for the direct to consumer distribution channel, this is something I did myself when I started my first brand. I was paying for it myself. It was completely bootstrapped. So what I would do is I would have small local seamstresses and small local creators make like 10 to 20 pieces of all of my things. I photographed them, I put them online, I sold them. So, if pillow A sold out in a week and pillow B sold none, then I took cushion A and I went to China and I had 250 pieces made.
There you go. That's so smart.
And that money I made with that small round, actually paid for the larger.
Yeah. And I think for some first time, again, product-based entrepreneurs where you are in that building phase for quite a while, I think so many of us, gatekeep's the wrong word. It's probably more out of embarrassment to start talking about our business before the product is perfect, right? Or is ready to be client facing or customer facing. But I spoke with a woman recently who did the opposite, who basically started posting about her launch of the product from day one, when it was a concept, an idea. And what in turn resulted for her is that she had customers ready and willing to purchase before she even bought her first item of inventory.
Radical vulnerability. To put yourself out there, you are accountable to the max, but also you're right. You've just pre-sold. You built in a community who's willing to buy your thing this day you launch.
Yeah. And I think those people that followed along her journey were so invested in what she was doing and what she was building. I don't know if she necessarily crowdfunded, but she definitely could have with that model. You easily at the end of a 3-month, 6-month, 9-month development cycle of posting your journey on social media.
You could take pre-orders.
You could definitely take pre-orders from those customers that know, like, and trust you, that are excited to see this thing come to life and then have it, be in their hands. So also, I think it's important as you're launching something new, it's another approach. It's not waiting till it's perfect and ready to start posting. Social media is free, right? Like, it is a way to build authentic audience and make connection with your hopefully future customers at no risk to you, except for your point, being vulnerable. And I think it only makes a product more authentic if you're getting up there saying, well, look at this first prototype that came in and it's looking wonky and all messed up, like back to the drawing board. Like, people want to see the work that's going in behind the products they're owning and buying. I really do believe that that's creating a different connection. Just think about that as another way to almost crowdsource in a sense, is starting to build that community early, get that testing feedback early so that when you are ready to launch, you actually have an understanding of how many followers do you have? What do you think the appetite is for their purchasing? And you can be polling them and asking for their like direct, candid feedback.
I love that idea so much. And I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea that this method is only for like bootstrappers or only for first timers or only for the newbies, because there are sites out there like Moda Operandi who a high-end luxury women's clothing and jewelry, and they pre-sell all the time. Now they're pre-selling because they're obviously not going to buy a like $50,000 piece of inventory if they don't know if they're going to sell it or not. So they take pre-orders.
Yeah.
And so that is also a really like elite way to position it with your brand. If you, again, know that you have a viable product, you've seen a sample, it's great, being transparent with your community, having great photography and being like, you know, this is such a special item. We're going to go ahead and put it on pre-order. That works.
Yep.
It creates scarcity. It creates this like desire and need to be first. And that's a strategy.
Yeah, I think it's a smart strategy. And I think there's, again, so many ways to be tapping in and learning about your product early on before you're cutting that check for 500, 1,000, you know, because I can also tell you the flip side of this is you can have the best product ever, but if you have no one to sell it to, which I can, again, being vulnerable here, I felt so confident in my pajamas that I let the fabric MOQ kind of dictate. And a lot of that was with the manufacturing partner I was with. And you think, Jackie, don't you know better? And it's like, one would think, but I felt so strongly in my product idea that this virality was just going to happen and all the marketing things that I really have learned so much about, but didn't really know a lot about. And what happened was I finally got inventory in, and then I started building my community and was like, oh, shit, this is going to take some time, right?
Yeah.
And it has taken time and it's still taking time. So I think there's also a piece of the quantity of your buy is not a reflection of how great or not great your idea is. Really, it comes down to what is your distribution channel? Has that distribution channel been set up? And I call distribution channel meaning the means in which you're going to sell it. Are you building an authentic, organic following on social? Okay, give yourself some runway there. Are you finding a B2B opportunity where you're going to go sell to multiple boutiques off the bat? Okay, that's a different way of selling it, right? So how you are selling it is going to dictate a lot of what that opening order quantity should look like.
I think that's a fantastic point because we hit on the financials early, but it's not just about that. It's about, can you sell this product? Who are you selling it to? Setting up, like Jackie said, setting up the distribution channel, setting up your marketing, setting up your site, setting up your social, like getting your claws into that key customer demographic before you write a PO. Knowing how viable it is, knowing how much you can sell of it.
Just because you could afford to buy 3,000 units doesn't mean you should buy 3,000 units.
Doesn't mean you should.
And even if your margin, my margin hits the target at 3,000, but I can tell you again, personal experience, I learned so much in those first couple hundred units out the door that if I could have tweaked and changed the balance, hundreds that I still had in inventory,
you would have.
I would have, right? I would have. So it's again, less about not believing in my idea enough. And I had the financial means to hit the MOQs and get the lowest cost, but there was some agility that I definitely lost by doing that as well. So again, making sure even if you can purchase more, do you actually need it for where your business is at? Because the feedback you're going to get from clients and customers, it's going to evolve and change. It just will.
Yeah. So the strategic move there that we would probably recommend would be buy as little as you can as a pilot or a test. Talk to your factory about the fact that I really want to buy X amount. I'm running a test or pilot. Can I do less for more money?
Mm-hmm.
And then know your dates for the larger orders. Say, okay, I'm going to buy this sample order. I'm going to sell it. When I tell you to go on that big order, how fast can I get it to market?
And also, you will find factories. Again, I just said I'm moving my entire production to a different factory partner right now who is willing to sit on my fabric for longer. I had a relationship with my previous factory where they did not want to sit on my fabric for more than X number of weeks. And I said, I can't sign up to that. What it's doing, it's forcing me to commit to more styles in sizes that I don't know that I actually need yet. So the reactionary time, finding a vendor that's willing to be a little more flexible with you. So for me, that's my product is a fabric-based business, right? I'm going to go and hit my MOQs for fabric because I can, but I'm not actually going to have them cut my entire amount of fabric. So I might pay a little bit more of an upcharge in the manufacturing, the cutting and sewing of my garment, but I've saved my money on my fabric cost. And again, this vendor is a great partner with me. They understand I'm in a scale and learning and reactionary moment in my business where I need to be able to keep reading my size selling and my adjustments of what is she voting for, shorts versus pants versus tees, right? And I have one fabric that can cover all of that in my full range of sizes. It's finding those factory partners also that as you are looking to scale are willing to do it smartly with you.
Because that's only in their best interest too.
100%.
If you buy a huge order and burn out and can't place a reorder, they don't have they don't have longevity in business with you.
Correct. So again, just a lot of different examples and ways to approach this.
And I think your example was so good for people to hear too, because you had a proven and a viable product.
Correct.
What you were learning on was size selling.
Correct.
You didn't know how it would skew.
Yep.
And so you learned that and were able to react in real time, which is just makes your business all the more profitable and quick to market.
When you just start to think about the things that you don't know until you know, one of those was influencer seeding of product. We send a lot of free product out to influencers. And the sizes that I am sending to influencers is drastically different than some of the sizes I'm selling to the general population. So what happened was I bought a very small amount of my smaller tertiary sizes, my extra smalls and my smalls, and totally sold myself out of them by seeding all of these influencers and then realized, oh crap, I'm totally out of my extra smalls and smalls. So I have nothing to sell to the customer, right? And so that was a size curve adjustment that I had to quickly make to say, okay, I have to keep an eye on this because if I know a lot of influencers are falling in this size bucket, it's not technically sales, but it's my marketing budget, right? My sending of samples is like my way of marketing. I need to make sure that I'm making up for that, accounting to still have sizes to sell to my customers.
Right.
And again, I could never have planned for that until we started doing it and actualizing it and be like, oh, geez, this is really like affecting my size ownership.
Well, good thing we're here to warn people.
Good thing our issues and mistakes you can now avoid them.
That the least amount of commitment that you can make up front and get learnings from your actual customers, the better the experience will be in the long term, the better you're able to plan, the better you're able to maybe make a tweak and have a better product. It's all comes down to, can you pre-sell, which we talked about earlier? If not, can you test small amounts? And it will give you so much insight into that sales channel, into who your customer is, and into what they're going to be buying from you.
Correct. Well, I think that was a great way to close the loop on this episode here. Hopefully you guys have all learned a lot from today's episode. We look forward to seeing you back here next week. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Sourcing Gals, also wherever you listen to your podcast, Spotify,
and on YouTube.
And we are on YouTube as well. So please subscribe to our channel. So until next week, we're signing off here from
The Sourcing Gals.